So while I'm walking down through the park to my flying spot, I'm going to try to make a list of problems that I've been having. I'll start with this copter because it's here and I don't want to miss that one. That's the main reason I was going to make the little video. So this copter has this motor, which doesn't spin freely. It's sticky. It has this motor, which when you first try to start it up, it spins as though only two of the wires are connected to the ESC, so it kind of jumps a little bit. And then it'll eventually, once you give it enough throttle, you usually can get it to start spinning up normally. So I'm thinking there must be some broken wires in there, which is keeping the coils from charging quite properly, but then if you give it enough power, then it'll start spinning, and then once it's moving, 2 coils is enough to really keep it spinning. The back 2 motors are actually pretty good. The flight controller is a CC3D Eachine Open Pilot flight controller, and it is working. However, it has happened a few times where when I try to start up the copter, plug in the battery, it doesn't chirp through the ESCs. And one time, by wiggling some of the wires connected to the flight controller, I got it to chirp up. And then another time I didn't. I had to wait like till the whole nother session, and then it did work for me. And I don't know if it has anything to do with running too many batteries in a row through it, and it's just having a hard time with that, or crashes that I've been having. But that time I did manage to get the ESCs to elicit some very strange behavior by wiggling some of these wires. And this harness right here, which connects to the PDB, but actually those are the servo wires. Another problem that I'm having with my equipment at present is my screen. So this screen I got for $85 from Banggood. It's an Eachine DVR screen, and it is brand new. And I used to have a very similar screen. It looked exactly the same, except it had no DVR, and it was by the company Apple-i. So my Apple-i screen, when I first got it, it did have some funny behavior. And when it had the behavior, I can't remember what it was doing, but it normalized out, and then it worked for a while. And then it started to go out. And at the moment, I could probably fly 1 or 2 batteries out of it before it gets all covered in lines, and it doesn't work anymore. And it even got to where it won't even turn off. When you're trying to turn it off, it's like the whole thing is cooked off, and I had to unplug the battery to get it to turn off one time. So if I turn it off soon enough, then I never have that trouble. But this one is different, but it's a similar problem. It won't turn off. I have to hit the reset button using a pin in the side to turn it off. And then if I mash the buttons, if I hold the power button and then hit other buttons, it's always different, but I can sometimes, by holding some buttons down, get it to start back up, which is what I'm doing today. My FlySky controller is superb, and I've never had any troubles with it. The only trouble I've ever had with my controller is one of the receivers that I got, which had only a single dipole, and it didn't come out very far from the copter. On this copter, it got the worst range. On other copters, it still gets bad range. But this one must have some kind of shielding or interference from the PDB. The range that I have on this setup, and I'm using PWM, outranges my video signal, so I'll never have a trouble. This is actually, it's my main copter now, but it's not my preferred main copter. I do have one that's got bigger motors. It's all carbon. It's a Emax Nighthawk 250, which is a little bit more like a 280, I guess, but anyways, I've got it on 5-inch props. And one of the motors burned out. I rewound it. Then I think because my rewinding wasn't correct, it drew too much current. It burned an ESC. So I had to order new motors and an ESC. And I'm waiting on all that before. And I think that's only the main problems with it. Its flight controller also has some odd behavior, where it won't stay stable, and there's other things that go wrong with it. But now I'm here, and I'm going to fly my course through these trees. And I do have a third copter, which is another Eachine Racer 250, which is not as modified as this one is from crashing. It's more stock. The camera angle is also stock. This is a steeper camera angle. And it's a more powerful copter because the motors are all good. And I do have different props, which are more aggressive props. But it's harder to control. And so I'm really enjoying this one because this one is a little bit less powerful. I think that the props have a lot to do with that. But these softer props make everything seem easier to control. And also the rate and PID tuning is different on the other copter. And it's significant. And I'll have to save that discussion for another time.